Namaste and a very good afternoon to all our viewers. I'm Nidhi Kumar, your host for today. We're extremely excited to bring to you the Eat Right India initiative of FSSAI, adopted by Herbalife Nutrition in Karnataka. Herbalife is all committed to make the state healthy and safe in their series of the initiative. Also acknowledging our broadcasting app, the Mitro app. And together we'd like to extend a fervent welcome to our guest for today, Kavita Devgan ji. But before I introduce her to the audience, a little bit about food. Now, food systems affect everyone and incorporate everything from the way food is produced and distributed to how it is consumed. Our largest generation of youth is the most vulnerable and has a valuable role to play in making our food systems more sustainable, resilient, and effective. So today's event, we're going to talk about food system and its approach. Kavita Devgan is a writer, nutritionist, and a weight management consultant who has transformed the lives of hundreds of clients seeking weight loss. She is a very well-known speaker and a popular health columnist with premium media groups. She has been writing extensively and sharing her ideas with lakhs of people for the last 15 years. Namaste and welcome, Kavita, to today's program. Very happy to have been joined by you.
Thank you. Totally my pleasure to be here.
So I'll start with you. These days, whether for disease management, weight loss, or longevity, we are continuously bombarded with expensive, fancy dietary advice. You have drawn on our traditional wisdom and embellished it. We'll come to the grandmother part later, but what, according to you, is food?
Food is something that is going to nourish you. Simple definition. Everything that you eat must do something good to your body. If it is not adding any value to your health or maybe even to your mood, then there is no use of eating that. And in fact, I would not even consider it food. So if it is harming you, even if it comes in the shape of food or so-called food, it is not really food. So that's a very simple definition of food according to me.
Wonderful. But to my other question, that we are continuously bombarded with advice on, how to eat and what not to eat for disease management. What would you like to say? Tell us about your books and what you have written, and so that this can, be read by many others and your advice be taken, and they also go down and read that book.
Wonderful, Nidhi. See, I write on health. I've been writing on health for many, many years now. And food as a preventive tool has been my focus. I believe that if you eat the right food, you can actually prevent any harm from happening in your body. If we can just move away from the very curative aspect of the whole society, that we wait for the disease to happen and then we try to correct it, if we try to stop that thought and move instead, as Ayurveda has always told us, towards preventive, do not let the disease happen. And for that, the only tool, in fact, I would say that is available to us and available to us very, very easily is the food we eat, the food we plate and the food we eat. So if we can choose the right food, we can prevent diseases from happening. That's the first thing, and which is what I try to write about in all my books till now. The very first book, which came out in 2016, was Don't Diet. So that focused on all the lessons that I had learned from my clients on what works. And as the book's name suggests, it says don't diet, because I don't believe in,
Having your body
yourself and your food. Yeah. The second book, Ultimate Grandmother Hacks, which is really close to my heart, is actually a compilation of, all the grandmother advices that we've been listening to, but not really following. So I thought
जैसे कि कहा जाता है हींग लगा दो बच्चे को जब रोता है, नाभि पे, these kind of things grandmothers ने
even more than that, I delve into the habits. Yeah, the habits that they used to follow. Early, first thing in the morning, they would get up and have a lot of water.
Yes.
Now science tells us that's the best thing you can do to your body. Similarly, everybody would sit together and eat. Now science tells us that that's the best way to ensure that you stay healthy and happy and a good, happy unit as a family. So, so many of these simple habits which we took for granted, but now science is proving them right over and over again. So Ultimate Grandmother Hacks is actually a compilation of very simple steps that you could, it's like maybe when you would read it, you would feel that you're listening to what your grandmama told me, but you didn't really pay heed at that time. So maybe if you read my words, I thought it'll remind people and they'll start following those simple steps. The third book, Fix It with Food, which was the last one, which came out last year in April, that actually lists foods, which I consider superfoods. Foods that are everyday foods, Nidhi. I'm not talking about anything exotic there. I'm talking about everything that is available at your local sabzi wala. So what I have tried to do is give these foods, these basic, humble foods, a lot of respect. I've actually explained why they are good for us. Why something as simple as, your bengan, the eggplant, is so good for us. It is the most alkaline food, by the way. Not many people know. Once they read the book, they'll know a lot of other facts about all these simple everyday foods. I even talk about why banana should not be maligned so much. It's one of the most complete foods that you can eat, and it doesn't lead to weight gain. So I have broken a lot of myths about these foods. There's a lot of information about everyday foods and why we should eat them. There are simple recipes to, actually start using those foods. And I've also mentioned a few fun facts about each food. So they'll make you chuckle. So it's like an easy read and you don't get bored. So that's what I've done in Fix It with Foods.
I'm going to ask you about Fix It in Foods later, but here one point for you.
Yeah.
In your superfood list, let's start with the, grandmother hacks first. You've included forgotten fruits like raspberry and water chestnuts. Why did you do that? And how do they help?
We talk about all the exotic berries, and we talk about foods that are supposedly very high in antioxidants and everything. It's really good to eat them. There is no harm in eating anything which is good for you, wherever it is coming from. I have no issues against that. But what I feel is that I think charity begins at home. Let's try and focus on foods that are so easily available already in our backyards. Raspberry is one of the most antioxidant rich berries around, and you'll probably get it at 1/10 the cost of anything else you'll probably try to buy. Similarly for jamun, similarly for falsa, singhada, again underrated, so underrated. It's a wonderful food to eat. It's hydrating, which is why it comes in the right season when you need the hydration. You see, nature understands what food you need in which season. So it helps to eat seasonal. It helps to eat foods that are very easily available, which is why I've spoken about all these forgotten foods in my book.
Oh, lovely. Here I want to ask you, Kavita, that your books and their correlation with health, nutrition, balanced diet, energy, and fitness. How would you take that forward?
So what I try to do is that basically no one knows everything, right? Although we all think that we can just Google everything, but that's not true. Unless you try out something practically, you don't really know whether it works or not. So which is what I try to do in my writing. Whatever works is what I put in my books as well as in my columns. So which is why Don't Diet was a compilation of the habits that are actually realized, which keep people thin, which keep thin people thin. There are certain habits which people who are fit and thin who follow naturally, automatically. So I basically just compile those habits so that other people can benefit from that. Similarly, in Ultimate Grandmother Hacks, I could have written about 200 habits, but no, there is no point in writing about habits which are not practical today. So I have only put in habits which I feel today's generation, maybe the next generation, can easily follow. Similarly, Fix It with Foods. Every food mentioned there, you just have to go down to your local sabzi wala and you will find it there. You can't blame me by saying that I'm talking about a food which will be available at like 1,000 rupees, 200 grams. No. So I'm talking about everyday foods there. So what I try to do is filter information that is practical, that is usable, and that when a person reads it, doesn't get the feeling that this is just gyan. I don't want to just give gyan. I want to give things, steps that people can actually put into their life the moment they start reading them.
Absolutely, Kavita. So if you say don't diet, a lot of people will want to know some of those tips and advices to share on weight loss. Would you do that for us?
Absolutely. That's my favorite topic. I do that for a living and I love to do that. So, as the book's name suggests, maybe it says don't diet. I do not believe in the word diet because what has happened today is that diet has actually become a four-letter word. People consider it a punishment, and that's not how it should be. Diet is
Very
actually,
fancy kind of diets,
yeah,
keto and stuff like that. And then you do it for 5, 6 days. After that, you're so bored. Just eat mangoes on one particular day. Just eat santaras the next day. It is so, confusing for a lot of people. I have seen who use these kind of diets and
huh, huh.
work for some time. You're really thrilled and enthusiastic in the beginning, but then you just drop it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. The moment you feel that the diet that you're being asked to do or that you are choosing to do is making you feel deprived, take it from me, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So the idea is to
Even
actually,
if you have your own cheat list, it's not working. Yeah.
it's not going to work because it has to be sustainable, Nidhi. Anything that you decide to do today or for the next few days is something that you should be able to see yourself doing for a slightly long period of time. Weight loss is not a sprint. Weight loss is a marathon. You have to understand. The way you gained weight over a couple of years, you should lose weight also slowly so that your body adapts to every new weight that you reach. Otherwise, all you're going to do is this vicious cycle of losing weight and gaining more, and then losing some and then gaining more. So avoid a fad diet. Any diet that is sounding too good to be true, trust me, is too good to be true. It's not going to work. Similarly, any diet which is telling you to remove any major food groups from your everyday eating, like some of them ask you to remove carbohydrates completely, some of them ask you to go very low protein or low fat. Again, it's not going to work because your body and your mind and your mood needs all of them. So that is my first tip: do not fall for fad diets. The second tip is, like I said, take it as a marathon, take it as an enjoyable process. You should enjoy the journey, like they say. Similarly, you should enjoy the weight loss process. Do it step by step, do it right. Do not harm your body. It's not worth it. Losing 5 kilos, but cutting off 10 years from your life. Choose. The choice is totally in your hands. Or similarly, losing 10 kilos very quickly, but messing up your gut so badly that you end up with a lot of diseases. Again, the choice is in your hands. So my suggestion is that you remove this negative connotation of diet from your mind. Don't say that I'm going on a diet. Just say that I'm going to change a few of my habits which make me gain weight. And once I start changing them, my weight will automatically start coming down. That's what I explained in my book very clearly. The first one, The Don't Diet. And in fact, its sequel is coming out in September. You're probably the first person I'm telling this because we haven't announced it yet, but it's coming out in September, wherein I've taken it a step further and explained how you should actually lose weight. So you need to do a habits audit, figure out which are the habits that are messed up for you. Take one at a time and rectify it, modify it. It's very simple. Never try to remove any food from your diet. Rather, I would say add some good foods to your diet. For example, if you I've actually seen it work practically, which is why I'm telling you. If you add 2 to 3 fruits to your daily diet, your craving for meat will go automatically. Trust me. There are people who tell me we can't manage without meat. So I tell them, fine, you keep eating, because the moment I tell them, no, you can't have that cake, that's all they want to have.
No, but then if you start binging on mangoes, then how's that? That's also another problem with people.
Binging is a different habit altogether that you need to tackle. Binging is not good, whether it is on good food or bad food. So that is something, again, you need to understand. There are no free lunches. So even if you have too much of the good food, it's not going to be good for you. So
eat in moderation. Yeah.
Yes. So portion control is the second rule that you need to follow. Just cut the bad food to size.
Yeah.
Eat less of the bad food, eat more of the good food. And you would have actually rectified your problem. So, like what I was telling you, the moment I add 2 to 3 fruits to a person who doesn't eat fruit, their craving for meat within a week or two just goes away without their realizing what is happening.
Absolutely. Whether it's papita or banana or anything.
Anything.
Ancient grains, Kavita ji, are once again getting a firm thumbs up. What are your views on that? And what are the grains that you feel? Millets, maybe what else?
Yeah, so I'm. This is again a lovely question, Nidhi, because I love it when people talk about millets, and they talk about ancient grains. The more space we give them, the more people will become aware about them. And earlier, that's how it used to be. In in a weekly menu of say a very normal household, traditionally, wheat and rice would make appearance, say maybe twice a week. And the rest of the days, people would eat other things, like your
Jowar,
ragi,
ragi.
kotu, their seasonal kotu during the
Sabudana, I think.
sabudana, bajra, nachni. There are so many of these grains. If we start eating them by rotation, it is going to do a lot of good to our body. The rule, often repeated rule of eating variety being good for you. That's not important just for your vegetables and your fruits. It's also important for your grains. We must keep changing the grains because every grain has something good happening with it. So why not make the most of it, and give our taste also, a palate also a different taste every.
Next, I want you to throw light on the fact that how can we become a healthier nation? What do we need to do as a people, as a country? How can India eat right?
We just need to look into our past, Nidhi. Simple solution. We used to do everything right earlier. I don't know how we got misled or what happened along the way, that there is no harm in incorporating new ideas and new science into our life. It's very, very important to do that because that's how you stay abreast. New research tells us about a lot of things that we must know about, but we must not do that at the cost of forgetting our past. There were a lot of things that were practiced in our traditional way of living, not just eating, living as well. Why would your grandfather, just tell me this, why would your grandfather go out with his friends first thing in the morning for the walk? He would not leave his walk for, I'll do it at 8 o'clock, at night. There was a reason for it. He wanted to start the day on a good note. He wanted enough endorphins created in his body to last his day, and also the simplest practical reason that once you've done it in the morning, you've done it. You won't forget it or you won't miss doing it through the day. So simple things like that.
Keeping up right. I mean, I think we get up so late. Mostly, even after the pandemic, I think it has overturned all the systems because very few people are now going to office. So they're all working out of home. So they are sleeping late, getting up late. This also plays a major role, I feel, Kavita, in messing up with your nutrition habits also.
Yeah, totally. See, one thing that has happened is the activity level has gone down, but the food has increased. So that's a deadly cocktail. That's exactly what we tell people not to do. It's the reverse of what should be done. So that is one problem. Second is this digital, work. So all you're doing is sitting at one place, and that is bad physically for us and mentally for us as well. It's leading to a lot of emotional eating. That's what I'm tackling today with so many of my clients. Comfort eating. Yeah. Without really feeling hungry, people are eating because they're so stressed. I mean, we can't blame them. There is stress. Pandemic has added to a lot of financial stress, a lot of emotional stress, a lot of bereavement. People have lost so many people. But we have to understand food is not the solution for any of these problems. It's only going to add to your stress. Do not look at food because it's not going to solve your problem. Eating that extra burger or those fries are not going to get the boss off your back. It's as simple as that. So food is not the solution there. There are other solutions for it. Do not use pandemic as an excuse to mess up your health. Pandemic will go eventually. but you don't want to end up worse by the end of it, right? You would much rather use this time. I would say much rather use this time to become a healthier you.
Absolutely.
So
A healthy version of yourself. Yes.
Healthier version of yourself. Exactly.
Could you share immunity to, sorry, I'll say this again. Please share your top immunity tips at the end.
Oh, yes, immunity is the buzzword, Nidhi. No conversation can be complete without that today. It's really important, even more today, what we are putting on our plates, frankly, because as we know, it's directly related to our immunity. What we eat is directly related to our immunity, and our immunity is directly related to whether we'll survive this pandemic or the next one, or the myriad other diseases and flus that keep attacking us all the time. So now for immunity, all the basic rules apply. You need to exercise, you need to get enough sun, you need to sleep enough.
Nice, Shobha. Just give us 5 minutes. This is just at the end. Thank you.
Hi, Kavita.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Earlier, I was having both of you together. Then I said, nahi, alag-alag rakhna hai because inka concept bilkul hi alag hai.
Okay.
Chalo, so should I answer this one again? Or maybe from here I can answer again and patch it. Hai? So all the basic rules, like I was saying, that they apply. You have to sleep well. It's really important. You have to exercise, keep moving. Even if you can't exercise, you can't go to the gym, no one can stop you from really keep moving around all the time. You have to get enough sun. Vitamin D is very, very important for the immunity. So keep that in the mind. But that said, there is absolutely no bypassing the importance of eating right. We all know that by now. All those nuskhas and everything that came in. But again, you need to understand immunity cannot be built in a day. You have to eat right sustainably for a long, long period of time to make sure that your body can actually handle the onslaught. So let me give you quickly 5 tips that I feel which will work for everyone. These are the basic immunity tips that anyone and everyone can follow. First, our immune system simply cannot function without vitamin C. So this is a vitamin which is not really stored in the body. So you need to get it in every day. So you need to eat at least 1 or 2 vitamin C rich sources every day. So your citrus fruits, your amla, your pineapple, your bell peppers, make sure that you eat 2 of these every single day. So vitamin C, top of the list, make sure it's there in your diet every day. I don't mean the pill, I mean food, right? That's important to clarify here. Second important point, which again, I can't reiterate enough, please do not gain weight. I know a lot of people have gained a lot of weight during the lockdown. You are undermining your immunity by doing that. You must stay near your optimum weight. That's really important because, the antibodies that actually fight the viruses are not produced effectively enough if you have too much fat in your body and if you're obese. So that's another reason to knock off that extra weight that you might have been putting on. Third, try to sit in the sun at least for half an hour every day. You need the vitamin D. Agreed, you're having the supplement and everything, but let your body make some vitamin D. It's a very important vitamin for your immunity. Fourth, please avoid excess sugar. It actually lowers your immunity by disabling your natural disease fighting cells. You don't want to do that at this point of time. You want to keep the virus away. You don't want to invite them in. So I'm not saying stop eating meat, just be very careful of the portions that you're having. Next is stay hydrated. Again, very, very important. You need about 2 to 3 liters of water every day. And you can even have plain water is, of course, very important. But you can even include things like coconut water, buttermilk, lemon water.
Anything, yeah.
So all of these foods, simple tips, 5 of these can work. So just try and apply these 5. And the rest, of course, you keep eating a diet which has a lot of variety, which is balanced, and eat enough protein. Again, I would like to stress on that. And I think you'll be fine. Don't stress too much.
And on that note, thank you very much, Kavita, Devgan, for joining us today and these very interesting insights. A special shout out to FSSAI, Eat Right Foundation, and of course, Herbalife Nutrition. Thank you for supporting us in this endeavor. Let's endeavor to be a healthier nation. On that note, namaskar. Thank you for watching. Namaste to all. I'm Nidhi Kumar, your host for today. We are extremely excited to bring to you the Eat Right India initiative of FSSAI, adopted by Herbalife Nutrition in Karnataka. And Herbalife is all committed to make the state healthy and safe in their series of the initiative. Acknowledging our broadcasting partners, the Metro app. Today's event, we are going to talk about food systems and our approach. I would like to introduce our guest for today, Shobha Narayan, who is the author of 5 books. She has been a journalist and a columnist for about 30 years plus and writes about travel, food, wine, culture, crafts, and relationships for national and international publications. She's also won a James Beard Award and a Pulitzer Fellowship. She has taught and lectured at universities in India and abroad and is interested in Indian aesthetics and its influence on jewelry, music, textiles, and scents. She's a bird watcher, wine drinker, and a gadget geek. And her lifelong mission is to get fit without exercising and lose weight without dieting. Namaste, Shobhaji, and thank you for your time.
Namaste. Thank you for the introduction.
शोभा आपकी किताबों में food is interlinked. I'll say this again. There was a fumble. Shobha in your book, Food and Faith is interlinked. It's all about prasad, something that is served in all our religious shrines. What can we learn about health from this?
I think there are a few things we can learn about food and faith in our culture. One is that our ancients, our ancestors used to eat food in a way that is now becoming popular. So, for example, they would have fasting on Ekadashi, they would do certain vrats on certain days of the month. We are learning all that, and we have new phrases for it now. We call it intermittent fasting, we call it detoxifying. But even today in Bangalore, the day after Ekadashi, you get a certain type of a green called agati kire, which is the Karnataka word for it. And that, if you eat, will remove your toxins. So we knew what to eat, when not to eat, when to eat, and what to eat. So in that sense, I think prasad, the way our temple cuisine has been worked out, is is linked to all the buzzwords today. It's seasonal, it's local, it's homegrown. For example, in Udupi, there is a temple where they use all the ancient and indigenous varieties of rice. Now, in India, we used to have 1 lakh varieties of rice, and today all of us eat either basmati or sona masuri. Now, if you go to temple cuisines like in Jagannath Kshetra in Puri, or if you go to the temples in South India, they grow their own varieties of rice with beautiful names, like Ambe Mohar, or you have the Kala Jira. There are these rice varieties give you strength, they give you vitamins and minerals. So I think it aligns very well with your purpose on how food is in fact going to be medicinal and help you with all the nutrients that you need.
Wonderful. But how do you relate your books to fitness, health, sustainability, all of that,
Hmm.
and nutrition?
So sustainability and nutrition are, I think all of us like to think that sustainability, it's a new buzzword.
Hmm.
It is, but it is linked to Indian culture. So that is the relationship between my book, Food and Faith, and the words that you are using. Um, in Udupi, for
I
example.
totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
So you go to any of these large temples, whether it is in the
Tirupati, anyway.
anywhere, they will plant seedlings for the
Hmm.
food that will be used next year. So in the Karnataka coast temples, all the food is served on banana leaves. So
Yes.
every year there is this practice of planting millions of banana leaves to get the banana leaves for their millions of banana trees for the leaves. So this sort of thinking is very intrinsic to India. What you want for next year, you plant this year. We call it sustainability now. For them, it was
Mhm.
just a tradition. It was how they did things. Now,
Mhm.
tradition means the agama means how the way of doing things. So sustainability is interlinked to that. They used only local vegetables. So the pumpkins, when they are in season, were used. There are certain during the monsoon, all of Rajasthan will not eat meat because the animals are feeding on the insects and worms, and they need to grow big for their migrations. So in Rajasthan, which is a heavy meat eating culture, there are certain periods when they will stop eating. So that is sustainability. That is giving some respect for nature and its rhythms. Now, in terms of nutrients, the most obvious thing for me is that if you eat right, if you eat indigenous, millets are a big thing now in South India. I don't know if it is the same
Yes,
in,
yes, yes, yes.
but millets.
Because Sadhguru has started this millets thing, and I've been to Coimbatore, and I was wondering how I could stay. This may not be recorded, please. This is off the record. So when I went there, I mean, I said, 15 दिन मैं चावल नहीं खाऊंगी, दाल नहीं खाऊंगी, रोटी नहीं खाऊंगी, मैं खाऊंगी क्या? And I loved it. We had only millets.
Uh,
So millets, yes, please continue.
so millets are huge in South India. I don't know if it's the same in North India, but here all over India, I think now we are all looking at local. Like, why eat quinoa if you can eat millets?
Yeah.
So the nutrients is comes from that. So ragi mudde is a ball made of ragi. We eat it with soppu saru. That is an indigenous variety of millet. So the nutrients, if we eat what is grown in our land for centuries, where is the problem with nutrients? It's all there. It's only when we want to import and we want to eat packaged food, pizzas. I mean, we all want that.
Tinned food, all of this. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So when I visited temples, I what I learned, for example, in Jagannath Kshetra, there's a Chappan Bhog. There are 56 varieties of food that is offered to Lord Jagannath throughout the day, and you go there and you see it. Um, First of all, women are not allowed in the temple kitchen, so I had to get it from interviews with the pandas or the priests. They say that even while cooking, if we think for 1 minute that I am the one that is cooking food for the Lord, our pots will shatter. So first of all, it is the attitude of the cook. What can we take away from that? When we cook our food or when we have food cooked for us, a sattvic attitude, an attitude of calmness and a shant is necessary. So the
Mm-hmm.
attitude of the food, who is preparing the food is important. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing is they all use mud pots. Now we've used to all of India used to cook in mud pots, and now we've stopped. Why not restart it? Get one or two of these very nice mud pots that are being sold and cook in that. The third thing what I found out was in Jagannath Kshetra was the pumpkin, the colocasia, the yams. These are all varieties of indigenous vegetables that now mostly are cooked for Shrad. What is Shrad? When we worship the ancestors once a year, we
Mm-hmm.
don't use green chilies in South India, for example. We use pepper. Pepper, why pepper? Pepper is indigenous to India. Now, why not doing this once a year? Try doing it a few times a year and see how your body responds. So if you use the yams, now yams are a big thing now, as you know, because they are estrogen, they provide estrogen for women, they are hormone balancers. In India, we have yams and varieties of yams in abundance. So those are the ways that are what I learned from the temple cuisine, which is useful for nutrition and sustainability.
You spoke so much about temple cuisine. Wonderful. But the concept of langar, how does it tell you how to approach food?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so food, many religions approach food. So I went to the Ajmer Ka Dargah, I
Mm,
went to Christian shrines, I went to Hindu shrines, and of course the
mm,
Sikh faith, which is the most uh, widest of all in terms of feeding other people.
mm.
The commonality between all of them was that the thought of food as a seva, offering food as seva. So this is something that is again comes very naturally to Indians. When we have guests and we offer the food, we treat them as really atitis, we offer it as seva. And this enhances the food, it enhances the people who eat the food and the people who serve the food. Because it is good, if you think of food as energy, then the attitude matters. And so when in a langar, the guy may be owning a huge business in Delhi, but he comes there, he washes vessels, he makes rotis, he's chopping onions, and at the end of the day, he's serving food for thousands of people,
Mm.
and regardless of class or caste. So this notion of seva is a very beautiful Indian idea. And that's how I think in Langar, that's what we can learn from Langar.
Absolutely. And even I feel when we have these disasters, floods, earthquakes, all of this, sometimes, you just go and donate for the sake of donating. There is no bhavana in that. You just go and give it like that without realizing that the poor person who's taking it had a first class house earlier. He had everything that he possessed in it. Everything has crashed. And you are actually, ridiculing that person instead of, giving it with compassion, with love, all of that. You just giving that bori of rice away. All right, here you go. It must be
Yeah,
really
I think so.
really
And in
such
fact,
a
there is a practice here where after you eat the food, they give you a dakshina. Thank you for eating my food as my honored guest.
mm,
So it is a respect.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Another thing, Shobhaji, in the Krishna temple of Udupi, you've mentioned that in your books, there is a unique approach to food. What are these vrats or vrathas that are followed here during the 4 monsoon months?
Yeah. So they call it Chaturmasya Vrata. And during these months, the mathas, there are many mats in Udupi. And the leaders of the mathas would not go from place to place because the monsoon months are the ground is very fertile and they don't want to stamp on all the insects and the living things. So they would stay in one place and they would do the vrata. And they would not eat certain foods in certain months. So, for example, in the first month, they would give up all dairy varieties. The second month, which happens to be during the Janmashtami, the Gokulashtami month, which is coming up, Krishna's birthday, they
Mm,
would eat dairy, but they would give up greens. So the idea is that each month try giving up a few things. So
mm,
the last month, for example, they would eat rice but give up lentils. And that month coincided with Navratri, which
mm.
in South India certainly you eat a varieties of rice, chitra anna we call it. For the 9 days, you have lemon rice one day, you have coconut rice one day, you have
Curd rice, tomato rice.
rice, all that. So it aligned very beautifully with the festivals. It aligned with also this notion of detox that we call it in the modern day, where you say I'm going to detox by giving up certain things. Now, this to your point, which is the important work that your organization is doing, allergies are a huge problem all over the world now. Now, if you go to an allergy specialist, the first thing they'll tell you is to identify your allergies. They'll say give up foods and then start reintroducing foods one by one to figure out which is the enemy to your body. Now, this vrata, where they are giving up certain classes of food, giving up dairy is becoming a vegan for a month. So it's the same idea, except we've been practicing it for millennia, and now it's a new term, a new way, and we all adopt it because it's coming from the West. We already have it in India, is my point.
Absolutely. What, according to you, was the approach of your grandfathers or our grandfathers or our ancestors to food and fasting?
Yeah. So everything in moderation is a very obvious one. I think if your grandfather or mine, no matter how much they would desired it, they would stop. They knew they would eat to 75% of their stomach. They would not, so they knew because they came from hardship, they knew when to stop. And because you were in a large family and you had to share your food, you had to eat little bit less because everybody needed to be the food. So everything in moderation.
They
Share.
used to eat from one thali. That thali concept was also there
Correct.
earlier. Yes.
Exactly. So this idea now with prosperity, most countries, including India, what has happened is that we eat like there's no tomorrow. You get
Hmm.
a pizza and you think, okay, once a week I'm having it. I'm just going to eat like 5 slices or 6 slices. So the moderation idea of moderation has gone, and then this intermittent fasting is not a new thing.
Hmm.
We used to eat in Tamil Nadu. I'm a Tamilian in Tamil Nadu. um, they would eat a big meal around 10:30, 11. They would have tiffin around 5, and after that maybe a glass of milk before bed. That was it. So this 2 meals a day concept, this intermittent fasting, was something I grew up with. And then I had to kind of researched my book on temple cuisine, but to come back to it. Now I am trying to adopt this 2 meal a day concept in my own life.
And eat before sunset is what all our elders used to tell us
Correct.
earlier. सारे बड़े बूढ़े यही बताते हैं कि सुबह उठ के खाओ और फिर शाम को सूरज ढलने से पहले खाओ. But we guys eat at 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or if you look at Gen Next, they're all eating after 12 also. They're working through the night, they're sleeping in the day. So every cycle has somewhat got disturbed. And to add to it, there is the pandemic. So in the pandemic, Shobhaji, I'd like your advice and your guidance on what should be the food around which people should, mm, eat, and should they have any vitamin supplements, because it's all over. The Google searches are going viral and all of this, have
Correct.
this vitamin, this immunity booster. So, what exactly do you feel about what we must have and not have? Because overall, our food does not give us a lot of vitamins, also. There is a theory on this.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I take a lot of supplements because I agree with you that over time, unless you go the extra mile to source the right food, we all need vitamins.
Mm.
So, what do I take? I take magnesium, I take zinc, I take iron, I have a thyroid issue, so I take thyroid support vitamins, B12 for women, calcium. They say the older you get, women need to eat calcium. Then, of course, you have your multivitamins, one a day for men and women.
Mm.
I think that eating vitamins, eating food supplements, there's nothing wrong with that, particularly if you are living in a city and you're a working person and you don't have access to the kinds of foods that are abundantly available in villages. So in terms of mood enhancers, that's an area that I would look at, particularly during COVID, because you're working by yourself. There are some serotonins and mood enhancers that come from supplements, that would be something I would look at. An emerging idea in vitamins is nutraceuticals, for example, NAC, which which improves your antioxidant base. There are things like sea moss, which help you, especially if you are a woman, for thyroid. So I think that the approach to take with vitamins would be to first know who you are and what you think you need. Like, are you a good sleeper or a poor sleeper? If you are a poor sleeper, do you want to consider melatonin? Are you social? I love wine. So then, if you are going through a holiday period where you're drinking a lot, do you want to consider liver support? So those are the questions that you need to ask yourself and approach vitamins. There are vitamins that help grow. You have for the hair, skin, and nails, there are vitamins. So it depends on who you are and what stage you are at. And asking yourself questions about yourself will help choose vitamins, I think.
Absolutely. Many of your chapters we learn about food as seva.
Hmm.
So, what do you want to say on food health?
Yeah. So,
Please, let's also talk about the local Indian varieties of vegetables here.
yeah, okay. Huh. So the food as seva, I think there is one mantra that is very popular, and it's called Brahmarpanam. It begins Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir. So you can Google that. And what it means is that I am eating this food, my body is a temple, that sort of thing. Now, this is something that we are all being taught in yoga classes. When we go for mindfulness meditation, they say, think of your body as a temple. But this mantra says that. So essentially, when you eat food or before you eat food, there used to be this tradition where you would take a handful of food and keep it for the birds. So
Mm.
essentially, the idea is to link yourself with nature, link yourself with the cosmos, and that what I'm eating is for my body as a temple. So the energy with which you eat the food is important, I feel. And then making a conscious choice to pick local, indigenous, seasonal vegetables is a very wonderful way to align your health with the seasons. And in Delhi, I'm sure there are seasons when you get melons, when you get certain types of beans, when you get peanuts, fresh peanuts. In South India, it's a little different. Here we have certain seasons in which we have long beans, certain seasons when we have what is called avarekai, which is beans filled with seeds. So there is jamun season here. We just got over sitafal season. So I think one way to do it is to consciously try to buy Indian vegetables instead of foreign
which
vegetables,
are seasonal.
which are seasonal. Correct.
Absolutely. And any other thing you would like to share with our viewers about your upcoming books or projects, or anything that you'd like to tell children basically
Yeah.
to inculcate to eat right? One thing that I'd like to add here is all of us have this hoarding, thing in us that we've seen our mothers do it. We need to somehow change that culture of putting things in the fridge which we are not eating, and you just store it away somewhere. It lies there for 4 5 days, and then your child learns the same habits, his children learn the same habits. So I would like to appeal to everybody: if you're not eating that, doesn't matter, give it away to an animal who perhaps may eat that, if it is still right and not stale, instead of taking it out of 4 5 days and throwing it away. That is also some mindset that needs to be changed.
What a wonderful idea. So
Mhm.
an empty fridge is a great road to health, is what you're saying. And I completely agree. I think keep your fridge as empty as possible, because that means you're eating fresh food every day. The second thing, what you said is absolutely right. We all are surrounded by this. Migrant workers are a big issue. Or in Bangalore right now, on all sides, I have construction going. There are stray dogs on the street. There are in India, if you want to give away good food, there is a lot of choice. You're spoiled for choice. You just go and keep it out on the street in a nice container. It will be gone. So yes, I agree with you. And for children, I would also say one of the things I would say is that um, try to watch what your grandparents are watching, and once in a while give it a try. Don't just dismiss it. And agreed, pizza and pasta and noodles and a gobi manchurian or whatever, all of that is great. But once in a while, as you grow older, the tendency is to have fast food, because it's full of carbs and maida, and it's comforting and makes you feel all right. But once in a while, go back to what your village aunties and your grandparents used to eat. Don't give that up completely. That's what I
And
would
on
say.
that note, thank you, Shobhaji, for joining us today, sharing your valuable time with us. I would also like to thank Herbalife Nutrition for supporting us in this endeavor, FSSAI, and the Eat Right Foundation. Looking beyond the present pandemic emergency, there is a need for well functioning, well funded, and coordinated preventive public health strategies that pay attention to food, nutrition, health, and social protection. And
Thank you very much.
on that note, Namaskar, many thanks for watching.